Thank you for joining us today via Zoom to learn more about the AWS and CrowdStrike Cybersecurity Accelerator. I'm Taylor Sipperly. I'm part of the corporate development and Falcon Fund team here at CrowdStrike. Elon?
Hi, everyone. I'm Ilan Leiferman. I'm AWS Global Lead for Cybersecurity Business Development for startups and VCs. Gur?
Sure. Hey, everybody. I'm Gur Talpaz. I head up corporate development here at CrowdStrike, which includes a variety of efforts. That includes our broader M&A effort, as well as our fast emerging Falcon Fund effort today, one of the most active investors in cyber. Really excited to be here. Steve?
Hello, everyone. My name is Steve Ward. I'm a partner here at Insight, and I focus on cybersecurity investments from early stage all the way through growth.
Great. Thanks, guys. This group will be part of the support system here for the Accelerator initiative. So very proud to be speaking with you today. Amazon and CrowdStrike have launched an accelerator program for the EMEA region. Collectively, we have a deep commitment to the ecosystem and fostering the security leaders of tomorrow. Really, the goal of our 10-week program is to provide best-in-class resources from industry leaders to help early-stage entrepreneurs grow their business in today's challenging market conditions. The startups selected to participate in the Accelerator will connect with subject matter experts to guide operations from their experiences on the front lines. Additionally, there is a robust network of leading VCs that will be participating in the Accelerator to provide guidance on fundraising, as well as potentially providing capital in future rounds. The Accelerator will culminate in a demo day at the prestigious RSA event, which will be attended by leaders from AWS, CrowdStrike, blue chip VCs, as well as influential CISOs. We're extremely excited to launch the Accelerator and have brought key stakeholders from the program and industry to discuss the value and why you should potentially apply today. So with that, I'll turn it over to Elon to provide some color on how AWS will be supporting the program.
Sure. Thank you. So we are also equally excited. This is a super strategic project for us, and I guess for the wider community. We're here to support and foster innovation for cybersecurity early stage startups. So on AWS, we've been running our Startup Loft Accelerator for shy of 2 years. We supported over 400 startups across different number of cohorts. But this time around, we wanted to do something different. So we went thematic and we went vertical. And so in order to do this in a meaningful way and to really create value for founders, we decided we were looking for the right partner to do this together. And so hence this partnership with CrowdStrike Ventures and Falcon Fund. So on our side, what you should expect as startup founders coming into the program would be support from AWS technical solutions architects, security specialists, and other subject matter experts, whatever your need might be from a technical product standpoint, as well as access to mentorship from executives from across the industry, both from AWS, CrowdStrike, and other partners that are going to be involved. And we also plan to have throughout the 10 weeks a number of workshops to go very deep into very key areas that are strategic for founders, whether it's a go-to-market marketing, going deep into what security lake looks like in 2023 and beyond, and so on. And lastly, thought leadership and support and exposure in some of the key international conventions. So that will give us marketing boost and PR opportunities for the cohort, and that includes RSA and other events that we plan to do next year to showcase the cohort to potential investors and customers and press. So that's from AWS side, but I'll pass it over to you, Gur, to give us more about CrowdStrike side.
Sure. Thanks so much, Elon. So first off, I wanted to say thank you to AWS. They've been absolutely incredible partners from the very early days of our journey as a company. We were built on AWS. We remain incredibly close partners and friends, and we're super excited to be extending that partnership and that friendship here with the launch of the accelerator. I think when you think about what a company has to benefit from joining this accelerator program, it's really that. You get to learn from our experience about launching a company in its earliest days, making those choices that allowed us to really become the company we are today as CrowdStrike. Our success today is really based on a lot of the decisions we made well over a decade ago, including our alignment with AWS. So there's really a few things that I think you get by joining this accelerator program. One, I think it's obviously access. Access is a really big piece of this. You get to learn and spend time with the folks that really helped build CrowdStrike to what it is today, from the earliest days to its current form. You get to learn from them, from their knowledge, the choices they made, where they would have changed things, where they did things correctly. And I think that experience and that knowledge base is fundamentally invaluable, and that access is invaluable. But when I take a step back and think about what we really can do here with this program, my team and I have become, I think, really, really adept and really successful at enabling really, I think, powerful bespoke outcomes for startups. And the reason we're able to do this is because we look at ourselves at CrowdStrike as a fundamental enabler of the broader security ecosystem. And we really, really go deep to work closely with companies of all sizes, ranging from the earliest of stages to late stage companies, to deliver really powerful outcomes for our customers. We have more than 20,000 customers today leveraging CrowdStrike, but our big differentiator versus other stories out there is that we really look to focus and foster both first and third-party outcomes across our platform. And we really mean that. We've got a large enablement community within CrowdStrike to help deliver that. And we've become, I think, really, really successful at it. And when you look at some of the outcomes that we've been able to deliver, I think they're really, really unique. They go well beyond just the notion of go-to-market alignment or partner alignment, because we go layers deeper to deliver really unique and powerful solutions. And it all starts with how we think about the customer and the folks in delivering a really powerful result through partnership with the customer. So that's, I think, the biggest thing that you stand to benefit here by working alongside us as part of this accelerator program. The last piece of it is obviously access to capital, but we think about that as a fundamental outcome, not an input in the accelerator program. The real focus here is to work together, to think about what we can do together to really deliver a powerful result for our customers. And we really mean it. Our goal here is to really make the industry better, to really align closely with companies of all sizes to deliver the best possible outcome for our customers and for the industry. And we think we're really unique in doing that. And we think this program is incredibly unique because you're aligning, I think, with two of the fundamental best out there. One of the best infrastructure players out there in the world in AWS, and I think one of the best security platform vendors out there in CrowdStrike. Taylor?
Thank you, Gore. Yeah, as you can all hear, this initiative is very near and dear to us. It aligns fundamentally with our core values. So for the next portion of the discussion, I'm going to turn it over to the team to discuss some of the market dynamics that they're seeing today, how startups can differentiate themselves, as well as why you should consider working with a large strategic at this stage as a company. So the first question, the current operating environment is challenging. Funding volumes are down, valuations have contracted, risk is at the forefront. What is your advice for seed stage startups looking to differentiate themselves in the market today? And I'll pass it over to Steve to get the perspective from Insight.
Great, thanks. Look, I think some advice that I'm consistently giving to founders is we need you to ask a lot of questions and we need you to listen to the answers when it comes to talking to operators. But I put a little twist on things. A lot of times in cyber, we talk to just cyber operators. I'm really encouraging founders to talk to technologists. One of the issues we have in cyber is sometimes we get a little micro-focused on solving a cyber problem, when I'd much rather see you look at it holistically as a technology problem. Cyber is never in us alone. As an operator, we're always working with our peers in app dev, DevOps, things like that. If you really want to build a great company that becomes a big company, you have to look at it as a technology problem. So ask a lot of questions, talk to a lot of folks on the operator side, but also talk to the strategics out there. Try to learn as much as you can from folks on what mistakes they made early on. It could be personally to you as a founder from let's say a dilution conversation, or it could be also mistakes you made from a platform standpoint. Do I spend more time on the platform and building that, and maybe less time on the features that get tacked onto it? Last thing is messaging. Cyber has one of the biggest problems right now across software, and that is a messaging problem. If you cannot differentiate your message early on, it makes you different from everyone else. You're going to have a challenge selling later. So really, really understand how you want to communicate the problem statement, how you want to communicate how you solve it, and what differentiates you from everyone else out there. It's really not that complicated. We're always pushing those simple things of really talk about what your differentiation is. I see too many times where early stage folks just take too long to get to the point of why am I better than everyone else? And how do I make you a top 3 priority rather than a 10th, 11th, or 12th priority?
Appreciate the insight, Steve. Let me pass it over to Gore.
Yeah, and I think Steve is spot on. For me, my advice is it comes in, I think, 2 parts. The first one is work with the right partners. I think when you look out there, we're all really excited to get deals done and to get a story off the ground, and to raise capital and ultimately see vision come to fruition. But when the dust settles, it's the people that are with you through the good times and the bad times that will ultimately define, I think, how successful your initiative is going to be. So pick the right partners, and that includes the right investment partners. It also includes the right technology partners at the end of the day, and be really, really, I think selective, even in a tough environment. Focus on that. And when I think about what that means, really focus on the notion of mutual value creation. What are you bringing to the table, and what are they bringing to the table? And really think about it beyond just the notion of a transactional sort of point of view, and think about it from the perspective of a relationship, because that's what it really is. At the end of the day, you're embarking on a journey together, and who you do that journey with will ultimately define like whether you make it to Oregon successfully or whether you get eaten by a bear, along the way. And I think that's really, really key. The second piece of it, and I see this a lot out there, is focus on a problem and focus on the outcome for that problem. And that may seem really, really simple, but it's not. Too often I see companies in their earliest stages try to spread themselves too thin, too wide. I like to say they're an inch deep and a mile wide, and that's a fundamental mistake. Focus on building differentiation in your product, and really focus on how you solve a problem in a compelling way, where it'll take somebody else years to ultimately emulate your approach to solving that problem. Really make a fundamental bet on the problem that you are looking to solve, and ultimately align with the right partners to help deliver that. And the final piece of it, and I think this is really, really, really critical, and I think this call speaks to that, is focus on scale. You're solving a problem that you think is going to be big. Make sure that as the problem gets acknowledged by the industry and by the market, that you can support the number of customers you think that you're going to see at the end of the day. The biggest challenge that we often see is that we see companies that solve really, really unique problems. When we try to take them across hundreds of customers, it breaks because it's not designed to really scale out in the right way. And that's hard. So building the right foundation and aligning to the right partners that can enable that foundation, I think, is fundamentally critical. What you don't want to do is end up in a situation where every single customer engagement is a bespoke engagement, where it's a professional services project. You really want to think about how you're going to fundamentally scale your business. So make a real bet on a problem, make a real bet on how you're going to solve that problem, and think about how you're going to scale out as the market fundamentally acknowledges that problem, and do it with the right partners, whether it's technology partners or investment partners. Taylor?
Thank you, Gore. Appreciate your thoughts on the matter. Ilan?
Sure. Not too much to add. I would just follow what Gur and Stephen have shared, but maybe a couple of points which I think are important to highlight here as well. I think it's all about differentiation. Stephen was talking about easy to explain value proposition. That's key. That messaging is key. But I think it's also important to think about differentiation when it comes to go to market, right? It gets too crowded, too fast in cyber, where everybody follows the same playbook as the leading company, whether it's top down or bottom up. Like, try to think strategically about that go to market, and strategically these days can be about, hey, what is your channel strategy from the get go? You don't need to follow the path of every single other competitor out there. You can find your own blue oceans. You can refine your product to be very purposefully serving different strategies of go to market, right? So it's not about selling to the same persona and delivering the value one way only, but it's really about building that ecosystem and go to market as a differentiation, not just the messaging or the technology. I think that is we see so many companies, and whenever you get a company that is fresh in their go to market, and they have it very crystal clear who they're targeting, what are the channel partners, what is the persona that they're selling, what are the users. Those elements are key to really find that product market fit and that scalability and those blue oceans to then drive growth. Perhaps another thing I would add here as early stage founders, when you're starting that 0 to 1, is be visionary, be contrarian, get a lot of no's, right? Be bold in your vision to really create a category from scratch, especially in cybersecurity, where it's so dynamic market. There are new technologies that are always on the verge. So don't just think 6 months, 12 months from today. Think about how the world would look like if that category will replace legacy players, right? So having that vision and articulating that vision and being consistent with that can take you very very far. And probably last but not least, just to add, that sense of customer obsession. I think you all touched with different wording, right, Gur or Stephen, but it's all about listening to your customers. You need to listen to them. You need to really create value for your customers, not just solving a problem, but really being a partner for them and really understanding how they deliver that value back to the organization. So try to understand all the different angles on how your persona, your buyer, will make the decision, and how they use your product throughout the journey, so that you can really adapt the pieces and the features of your product in a very intentional way. So really listening in your first customers, and all the way through keeping a pulse on the finger on what customers and how they use your product and how they decide buying your product. I think that remains paramount for any early stage startup.
Thanks, Ilan. Yeah, I appreciate the color there as well. So moving on to the next question. For founders, timing is everything. Every call, every discussion that you have is a trade-off. So why at this stage as a company should they commit to working with large strategics? I'll pass it over to Gur to get us kicked off on the topic.
Yeah, it's interesting when when we first iterated the Falcon Fund. One of the surprising things that we learned was that strategics weren't exactly, I think, well regarded in the industry, and I think the reason is that, historically speaking, for most strategics, the notion was that these were effectively vanity projects, right? That the value creation wasn't necessarily there, that you'd get some measure of brand affiliation, but it wouldn't necessarily go much beyond that. So when we iterated the Falcon Fund, the first thing we focused on was, what do we actually bring to the table? What are we going to do together? And for us, the focus, we're certainly investors, but the focus is really on leveraging capital to create the most powerful joint outcomes, to use capital as a mechanism to create stability in a relationship. And what we really, really focus on, and I think the good strategics ultimately do this, is on that notion of mutual value creation, i.e. what we can do for you and what you do for us as a byproduct of that partnership. And I think this is unique, right? And I think we approach it differently. I think when you look at cyber historically, cyber was in a lot of ways a lot of isolated vendors that didn't want to work together, that didn't want to align to create powerful outcomes. And the ultimate loser in that equation was the customer. Today, that's changed. And when you look at a vendor like CrowdStrike, our focus today is really on fundamental value creation through an ecosystem, through tight integrations, bespoke integrations, and really novel and powerful outcomes that allow the customer to get what we consider really true best of breed results from their security apparatus, which I think is ultimately very, very unique. So in that notion, I think strategics have really evolved. Now, what do we create, and why you should align with us? I think from the earliest of days. Obviously, I think there's market validation. I think that's incredible, right? Like, I think beyond just sort of brand recognition, we're a trusted vendor for our 20,000 plus customers. And having that alignment, I think, is critical, because there's a lot of vendors out there in security. Some say 3,000, some say 4,000, but there's a lot. I think aligning with a proven and accepted strategic market leader is really, really important from a validation standpoint. It means you stand apart from other folks out there, especially those that you may compete with. And I think that's critical. The other big piece of it, though, is that we really focus on integrated outcomes. So we're not just validating you. We're really focusing on the notion of, hey, what are we going to do together? Why should a customer fundamentally listen? What are they going to get by procuring your solution that they wouldn't get from procuring a competitor's solution? And that comes through really tight and really, I think, focused integration. And we really invest in that. Well beyond the notion of capital commitment, we're committing resources to really building that, and also building the go-to-market effort around that, which I think is really, really, really unique. And finally, I think the biggest piece of it is that you get access to your initial customers, which I think is really, really hard. One of the hardest things for an early stage company is to win that first customer, to win that second customer. It is a grind, and it is a slog to get that meeting, to get somebody to say, yeah, I'm willing to spend money on your product, because for them, it's easier to just ignore that, right? Like, their life will go on. So getting to that first meeting, getting that engagement, getting that validation, I think is really critical. And it's all symbiotic. It's all these pieces coming together to deliver that, which is why I think today the word strategic is no longer a 4-letter word, especially if you align with the right strategics in this market. Taylor?
Thanks, Gore. Yeah, anchor customers are everything. I speak to the credibility that I see in the market, having discussions directly with CISOs, eager to engage with early stage vendors. And we take pride in our ability to help guide some of those decisions when they evaluate the market. Elon?
Yeah, sure. So we, as being AWS, being a platform, we've been there, with CrowdStrike from day zero. As Andy Jassy liked to say during his time at AWS, there's no compression algorithm for experience, right? So we've seen that growth trajectory for hundreds of thousands of companies, millions of customers that AWS serve. So when we think about alignment with strategic, in this case, with AWS and the AWS security folks, we've seen it. We've created alongside our customers solutions and infrastructure and bespoke programs to create value. So I think there's that leapfrog that early stage founders don't need to try to solve absolutely everything from scratch themselves, but you can find some leverage working with AWS startups in this case, or other strategics, right? But then you can think about from a more product perspective, right? So I that in the past in like less friendly for startups, but these days, AWS, we're creating an ecosystem of partners, right? It's all about, we're going to continue to focus on having that infrastructure and all the different services, and whether managed or self-hosted. But at the end of the day, we need partners, we need starters to align and to close the loop, right? So if you think about product roadmap alignment, it is key, right, to understand what are the lanes that a player like AWS are creating, and how can you swim those lanes, and how can you kind of adjust into that trend? Usually, a new feature, a new service that we put in the market, that AWS puts in the market, is because there is already a demand from customers, right, on the other side. So try to open up your product discussion. Try to ask those questions, try to align with security engineers to have some level of product alignment that later down the line we call it a better together story, right? So how does your solution sitting on AWS infrastructure serves end customers in a better way, or leveraging existing AWS native security tools or such? So I would say those two things are key, and perhaps last is that ecosystem of partners, right? At the end of the day, it's not just direct sales, it's not just your cloud provider, it's not just investors, but I think at AWS we do have that breadth of channel partners, solutions integrators, software integrators, technology partners, investors. So we work with all those players. So be open, and come over with it. What do you need, and let us work on your behalf to create that piece of value for back to you. So I would add that.
Great, thank you, Ilan. So obviously the two strategics have a pretty good sense of why you should work with strategics, but very curious to get the institutional VC perspective on the value that can be provided to early stage companies. Steve?
Yeah, I'll try to just give some simple, quick things here that folks can listen to. And it's, look, you want to surround yourself with the smartest people in the industry, especially for those first-time founders. The more they associate themselves with, the more they listen to those larger companies that have been very, very successful, the less mistakes you're going to make. It is a fast-paced, profession that you're in, being a founder. You're going to have to move really, really quickly. You're going to make a ton of mistakes. So the more you associate with these larger strategics, the more you learn from them on how to build things the right way the first time, how to build processes the right way the first time. The better off you're going to be, the less mistakes you're going to make, the more you're going to learn, especially for those first-time founders. Product market fit, Gore touched on this a little bit, but design partners are your lifeline early on. Most VCs, when they're looking at the A round, B round, these growth rounds, a lot of our conversations early on with founders is, well, who are your design partners? It's not where are you getting your ARR from? You're not there yet. What we want and what we know is which companies, which operators are really, really good at helping from a design partner standpoint. They're more innovative than other companies. They're willing to put the time in to make something a better product that ultimately helps protect them. So when you're dealing with these strategics, you've got thousands of customers to choose from to go, hey, I have a problem that I'm solving. I have a technology that I think solves it. What design partners can I get on board? Can I get 10, 15 design partners? And can I use these strategics to quickly convert them to ARR? It's a really, really important metric for an early founder to go, I have X number of design partners. I've converted those design partners into ARR, and I'm ready for my next round. It's really a main point that we try to make. Last thing is collaboration, integration. We don't talk about this enough, but again, as a former operator, when you sit on the other side, what we beg for is for cybersecurity companies to work more closely together. We beg for you to integrate these things before I buy them. It saves me labor and time from having to integrate these things on the back end once they're already on my network. I get competition. We live it every day. Totally understand that. You can integrate, you can collaborate, and you can work with strategics and still have a competitive mindset about you and your company and where you want it to go and how quickly you want it to grow. But really, really focus on that integration into these larger companies and these larger strategics. As soon as you get plugged in, the first thing they're going to ask you, most likely in a POC, is how do you integrate with these companies? Have an answer for them and make sure you're doing that work up front so it saves them labor and it's a great sales point when you're pitching your product.
Great. Thank you, Steve. So really to summarize, I think between AWS and CrowdStrike, we have a very deep bench of operators. We've gone through the process of building a large company. We've started from square one, we built to the largest enterprises within the space today. We're really excited to provide that access to the participants within the accelerator, as well as exposure to some of the smartest VCs in the industry. With that, I will leave a call to action. We hope that you will consider applying. Very excited to see how the accelerator turns out. There's been a lot of interest thus far, and we hope to bring as many folks in as we can prior to the November 30th, 2023 deadline. We will be announcing who has been selected to the cohort on January 15th, 2024. So with that, I thank you very much for your time and look forward to seeing you apply. Thanks.